All right. Hey, everybody. So I'm going to do a very quick PowerPoint for you on English language learners. Well, I'm going to start by talking about the five subgroups that typically make up English language learners, just so that you understand the difference. The first group is immigrants. Immigrants are those who come from foreign countries and they've actually decided to leave their country in order to search for a better life. Usually, immigrants apply for status to come to the country. There's preparation, they're planning for it, they have it in their minds. So because of that, they're excited to come to the United States. They've picked the United States for a reason. And because of that, the adjustment period is a little bit shorter. Just so you know, down there it says WIDA Consortium, and all of this data comes from WIDA. WIDA is it stands for like World something or other. I actually looked it up and it didn't make any sense because nobody uses the long term. But basically, they're the organization that does works with English language learners and promotes materials and assessment, etc. Your second group with refugees, and refugees are those who didn't have any choice and had to flee their homelands due to war, threats of genocide, environmental disasters, economic collapse. Usually, conditions that refugees are in are rather dire and extreme. They've traveled great distances. They've endured a lot of hardships, and because of that, acculturation into the new culture can be difficult. They're experiencing a lot of trauma and upheaval. Then you have migrants. Migrant families have transient lifestyles. In order to make a living, they move from place to place to place, depending on growing and farming. Here in Maine, it would be blueberries. It's a big migrant population here. But because they travel so much, it leaves huge voids in an ELL's ability to stay on grade level, and academics can suffer. Sojourners are people in the United States for only a short period of time, and ultimately they plan to return to their homelands. A lot of this is work related. They're often very successful. They're well schooled in their native countries, and they're typically experience academic success. When I lived in Cincinnati, we had a big Japanese population because of one of the car manufacturers in Kentucky. And so a lot of families would come for a couple years, bring their kids, and then they would go back, full intention of going back to their native country. And finally, ethnic minorities. Those are people who are citizens. They're solidly grounded in their own linguistic and cultural roots, but they may fear of letting go of their natural heritage, and they may even resist becoming too Americanized. This would be your biggest population, ethnic minorities, especially those of you who would teach maybe close to the Mexican border or in California. There's a big population. So all of these groups have one thing in common, and that is that English is not their primary language. However, research has found that ELL students who start school early, 8 to 12, are able to access the curriculum because they are strong in their native language and can cognitively transfer this first language to a second language. So to be honest, if you have a strong literacy in your native language, it's easier to learn literacy in a new language because you already have developed those skills in your L1, your first language. There's some developmental stages, beginning stage or home language stage, where children use their first language in school settings. And you may get a nonverbal period here, where they realize they can't communicate in the new language. So that's just they call that the quiet period. And then you have the emergent stage, or emerging, and that's when you have learners begin to use predictable language patterns, such as simple phrases and 2 words, or maybe multiple words. A lot of this will happen in social language, will happen before academic language. Then you have the developing stage, where children will be able to use more complex sentences with nouns and verbs, will be able to string multiple words together